different civilizations. Yet today, the riches and mysteries buried in Egypt's underground tombs are being discovered owing to the work of contemporary archaeologists and historians. A whole branch of research has to be devoted to Egypt because of the breadth of these findings and the knowledge gleaned from the banned mausoleums. Egyptology is the current name for the study of ancient Egypt. Join us on this journey as we explore the stunning discoveries and unravel the enigmatic history of this ancient tomb. A story that has shocked the world and changed our understanding of the past forever. The sumptuous tomb of Tutankhamun in the Valley of Kings was one of the 19th century's most astounding finds. It's well known that the pharaohs of ancient Egypt enjoyed edifying, opulent tombs and ornate structures. They would have their names and accomplishments engraved in hieroglyphics on these. Some even left behind mysterious writing that archaeologists are still unable to decipher. Modern historians have utilized these tombs and hieroglyphs to help them track Egypt's history, and further split it into 3 different eras after tedious excavations, study, and translation. Egyptologists are starting to comprehend the ancient Egyptians' preoccupation with death and the afterlife. The extremely advanced method of mummification also conveys volumes about their desire to preserve their remains with every new tomb and hidden subterranean chamber they find. Archaeologists in Egypt recently revealed that they have discovered a treasure trove of antiquity relics from the Sakara necropolis. Mummies and sculptures made of bronze dating back 2,500 years were among them. There were 250 sarcophagi, each containing a well-preserved mummy. According to the Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, Secretary General Mustafa Waziri, they were able to extract a whole sealed papyrus from one of the wooden sarcophagi. They transported this document right away to a museum for further study. This papyrus, according to Waziri, is comparable to others that describe the Book of the Gates and the Book of the Dead that were discovered a century ago. From this excavation, ritualistic objects from 500 BC have also been found. Sakara stands for 3 millennia of ancient Egypt history, culture, and politics despite all of its ups and downs. This location has long been a top candidate for archaeological research. Currently, it has given rise to several magnificent tombs. One of these astonishingly well-preserved tombs is from the 5th dynasty. It was found in November 2018 by a group under the direction of Dr. Mustafa Waziri. Wartai, a guy who was buried in the enormous royal cemetery, was the owner of the tomb. His neatly designed, colorful grave seems to be unharmed. It was buried in the Sakara necropolis 16 feet deep in the sand. Although 4,400 years old, the tomb's hue remains unaltered. The tomb formerly belonged to a king in Neferuke, who controlled ancient Egypt during the 5th dynasty of the Old Kingdom. The stone above the tomb's entrance is inscribed with hieroglyphs in addition to the deceased's name. His titles, which include Royal Purification Priest, Royal Supervisor, and Inspector of the Holy Boat, are revealed by these hieroglyphs. It's referred to be a rock-cut tomb chapel by University of Bristol Egyptologist Adrian Dodson. He said that they have so far only found the open area of the structure. Friends, family, and priests would gather here to leave the deceased's offerings. Inscriptions, sculptures, and painted reliefs adorn the walls of the rectangular gallery that houses this burial. These reliefs depict water, his wife Petar, and his mother Meret Min, and many aspects of his daily life, including sailing, hunting, making pottery, and more. Huge painted sculptures of the priest and his family are placed in each of the tomb's 18 recesses. Moreover, there are 26 tiny sculptures of an unnamed individual, most likely a scribe. 5 tunnels in the tomb have been uncovered by the Egyptian archaeologists excavating there. The other 4 shafts are still sealed, but one of them was open and empty. It excites Egyptologists to learn what is concealed in these shafts. They think one of these tunnels may lead to a sarcophagus or coffin that houses the owner of this tomb. Along a ridge that has barely been partly excavated is where the priest's tomb may be found. Further exploration may uncover even more amazing mysteries and riches in the area. A group of Egyptian Dominican archaeologists discovered 2,000-year-old mummies in February 2021 while digging at Alexandria's Tapu Cyrus Manya Temple in northern Egypt. They were interned in the kind of tomb that was common in the Grecian and Roman eras, rock-cut graves. Even though the mummies within were not in good condition, they had strange golden tongues implanted in their mouths. According to experts, the deceased were given golden foil amulets that resembled tongues so that they might communicate with god Osiris in the afterlife. Osiris was venerated by the ancient Egyptians, who considered him to be the ruler of the afterlife and the coroner of the dead. The deity was shown in the gold ornamentation on the cartonnage that was partly encasing one of the mummies. Similar embellishments, including a crown, 2 horns, and a cobra snake, were discovered on the head of another corpse. Director General of the Antiquities Authority in Alexandria, Kali Dabo El Hamdan, said that 8 marble masks, 8 golden wreath flakes, and a woman's death mask were also discovered during the trip. Also previously discovered in this temple were several coins with the name and likeness of Queen Cleopatra VII, the last monarch of the Greek-speaking Ptolemaic dynasty. 2015 saw the discovery of a tomb complex on the west bank of the Nile, across from the contemporary city of Luxor, by a group of Spanish and Italian Egyptologists. This tomb, which was constructed between 760 and 525 BC, has a chapel with a statue of the deity Osiris. Reliefs of devils and other gods holding blades were hung in a room next to the burial chamber. 5 inscribed tombs from the Old Kingdom and the First Transitional Era were discovered by an Egyptian archaeological delegation in March 2022. The first one belonged to a high-ranking politician, according to Egyptologists, and it has a well that leads to a burial chamber with depictions of funeral ceremonies engraved on the walls. A substantial limestone coffin and maybe belonged to carvings can be found within the well. Given its proximity to the tomb of another individual called Yard, the second tomb most likely belonged to his or her spouse. The third tomb's occupant is said to have held a variety of responsibilities, including great house superintendent, chanting priest, and house cleaner. The fourth tomb is a 6-meter deep rectangular hole that belonged to a lady. She had titles like a priestess of the goddess Hathor and a decorator of kings and queens. The fifth graveyard is home to a well that is 7 meters deep and belonged to a guy who also held several honorific titles. An Egyptian dignitary who lived around 4,000 years ago had a tomb recently found by the Polish Center of Mediterranean Archaeology at the University of Warsaw. The hieroglyphics discovered in the tomb show that he served as a priest, an estate inspector, and someone who handled sealed royal papers in the past. The structure was constructed approximately 2300 BC, during the time of the first pharaohs of the 6th dynasty, according to findings. During excavating in the dry moat that surrounds the pyramid complex, researchers discovered King Djoser's tomb at the Step Pyramid. According to archaeologists Camille, Majetu, and Meref Nabef coexisted and were alive throughout the rule of Pepi I, Sakara, and Teti, the first 3 kings of the 6th dynasty. Majetu had a high enough social standing as a result of his royal position to employ a reputable and talented individual to construct and embellish his last resting place. Nevertheless, he did not give carvers he hired enough time to finish their work. Using lime plaster, they simply drew drawings in black ink. It's kind of a preliminary draft that has images of cows, oryxes, and ibexes. The unfinished artwork doesn't change the fact that researchers believe he was buried in his tomb. Just yet, they haven't located him, but they're going inside and look around. They're hoping to locate his burial space and maybe even his mummy. According to Camille, Medjet grave Jews would have been occupied by someone else if he hadn't been interred here. He most likely passed away before the tomb's completion and had to be interred in the hurriedly adorned tomb. Since the granite from the Medjet tomb Jew was so fragile, specialists from the National Museum in Warsaw stepped in right away to conserve it. The fact that he was buried so close to King Djoser, who died in about 2670 BC, doesn't surprise archaeologists. The prominent and beloved pharaoh from the glorious past was someone that Egyptian authorities wanted to be buried as near as possible. Around 3,000 years ago, Sakara was a popular place for high-ranking Egyptians to be buried. The current location of this 5-mile rectangle is around 20 miles south of Cairo. During Egypt's history, there are hundreds, if not thousands of temples, tombs, and walkways still standing. Since 1850, experts have been researching this unique necropolis. They have since found amazing stuff, such as the enormous tombs that contain coffins, mummies, and other relics. 2020 saw the discovery of the tomb of the Egyptian pharaoh Ramses II's treasury director, which was also found at Sakara. Yet the splendor of Sakara is now being overshadowed by discoveries at Luxor and the Great Pyramids. Ancient Egypt is littered with artifacts and ruins that conceal mysteries that continue to fascinate historians and archaeologists in the present. The discoveries made in Egypt during the previous 3 years, according to Mustafa Waziri, Secretary General of the Supreme Council of Antiquities, aren't even 10% of what they'll find in the next years. Because Alexander the Great, Nefertiti, the Great Queen and wife of Akhenaten, Ankhesenamun, the fabled gold king Tutankhamun, Ramses VIII, and the 8th pharaoh of the 20th dynasty, and others are buried in ancient Egypt. Archaeologists are currently searching for their graves. Now we want to hear from you. Do you find any particular discovery in the tomb surprising or intriguing? What do you think could be the reason for the tomb being forbidden for so long? Share your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest videos exploring the mysteries and wonders of ancient Egypt. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.